Welcome back to John Bachman Now. Are you losing trust in the media? Probably, otherwise you wouldn't be watching us. A lot of folks turning over to Newsmax because they don't trust the media anymore. Only 29%, in fact, of Americans feel like they have news they can trust most of the time. This is according to a new report from the Reuters Institute. The U.S. ranking last. You hear that? Last out of 46 countries that Reuters surveyed. 75% of Americans who identify as being on the right also say their coverage of news is unfair. Local news was more popular among those surveyed than national news, with the most popular news topic being weather at 62%. Politics coming in at just 33%. Let's welcome in our panel to talk more about this and the eroding faith in the American media. Host of Stacy on the Right on Sirius XM and co-chair of Project 21, Stacy Washington is back. Also, Erin Elmore from Turning Point USA. She's a lawyer and a Republican strategist as well. And director, producer, and Tennessee congressional candidate Robbie Starbuck joins us as well. Great to have all of you with us. Always a pleasure. Robbie, I can't imagine why. There are no examples that come to mind right now why the American public would be losing faith in the media. I mean, Covington high school kids, the Brett Kavanaugh story, the Russian collusion. I mean, we could go on all day, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's an absolute joke. And I think despite what the media would like to believe, normal people are not stupid. And I think there's nothing that they hate more than being treated like they're stupid, which is what they've done. Just look what they did with Qasem Soleimani, calling him a war hero, an austere religious scholar, or when Andrea Mitchell on CNN cried because Fidel Castro died. Okay, as a Cuban American, I took that kind of personally. It's no wonder people don't trust them. You look at that, look what they did with Russian collusion, with WikiLeaks story on Don Jr. It's all BS. I mean, just this summer, as our cities were burning, CNN had a live camera of burning buildings and had somebody standing in front of it saying, "Oh, don't worry, this is mostly peaceful." These people are not to be trusted, and the American people aren't stupid, and that's why you see the results you're seeing.
Yeah, Stacey, I think Robbie was dead on. Nothing is more offensive to the American public than condescension. And that's a lot of what they get from the Washington and New York-based establishment media.
It's true. There's a lot of condescension, but we can't take for granted the millions of Americans who are actually believing the things that they're seeing on CNN. They have smaller audiences. I loved former President Trump gloating over the precipitous drop in viewership over at CNN and MSNBC, but there are still millions of people who watch that and consider it news. And the deception that they're soaking in, it influences their voting habits. It influences the way they behave. I don't know if you've noticed the marked increase in rudeness and inability to accept a differing opinion, and that comes from the propaganda that emanates from U.S. media. So the report is accurate. It is true. But we have to do more. You having Newsmax as a channel, having a program here, doing what you're doing here, it's so important. But we need more. We need 100 Robbies, we need 100 Erin Elmores, we need 100 John Bachmans. And not because you're not doing a great job, but we have to amplify the message of what you're doing and then spread that around so that people can begin to just simply accept truth. I just find it so disconcerting when someone is just differing a viewpoint is presented to them, and they freak out. You can see them. The color starts rushing up to their face. They start breathing hard, and they're unable to just allow you to disagree with them. That's a sickness, and it's infected millions of Americans, and it's our job to put it down, to cure them.
And you're right, Stacey. I'm thinking specifically about the clip we played here yesterday of Joy Reid with Christopher Rufo, who is a scholar on critical race theory. She never even gave him a chance to speak really during that segment. But you're right. There is no room, no tolerance, Erin, for diversity of opinion, at least when it comes to the left. But back to the media and this survey, just 29% of the American population has faith that the media is being honest with them. And the sad thing here is we need a media we can trust and respect.
We do, and those statistics are staggering. And what is happening now is that the mainstream media is essentially a Democrat super PAC. They are banging the gong for the leftists and covering for Joe Biden's mental instability. They are covering for Hunter Biden and saying it's misinformation and disinformation and blocking it. And I do believe that the social media channels and outlets are complicit and are part of the problem. And I call on independents, Democrats, and Republicans to reform the laws to protect those social media outlets, because they are part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Yeah.
The only real outlet we have is here at Newsmax, because there is honesty and reporting and truth. And people on the right really don't feel that they have anywhere to go, because the mainstream media is gaslighting the American people. And I would go as far as to say it's dangerous. Where is real news on COVID? Where is real news, by the way, that antibodies and natural protection is valuable just like a vaccine? You don't see that anywhere, because the mainstream media is complicit with the Democrat Party.
Yeah, and it goes, it's the mainstream media too, and it goes beyond that into social media. And Aaron, it's a great point, specifically when it comes to some of the treatment, that were proposed during the pandemic, and that was all squashed. Let's also talk about Georgia. A judge has allowed a Fulton County ballot review case to move forward for now, although the judge dismissed the bulk of the claims in the lawsuit. He also ruled that the county elections board and county clerks could not be defendants in the lawsuit. But still, one of the things you hear all the time, Robbie, is that all this information is baseless. There's nothing here. There is no election fraud. But if that were the case, why would this judge, even though he's thrown out a lot of it, why would he even allow this to go forward if it was all baseless and there was absolutely nothing to see here?
Well, I mean, it's very simple. He wouldn't. In fact, I think the question people should be asking is, why is it that the Democratic Party is so opposed to us just taking a look at what happened? If somebody says that you cheated at your job or you did something wrong and you didn't do anything wrong, you want it investigated. You want to be able to clear your name and say, no, we didn't have any part of this. The Democrats have no interest in clearing their name because they know they can't. And I believe that's what I believe, is that if they truly thought they could clear their name, they would be the first ones saying this needs to happen. There should be no doubt that we won this election. That's what I would do. Right. I would want to put my best foot forward and prove that I won without any question.
Right. And again, it goes back to the media, Stacy. 29% of the American public, they don't have trust or faith in what the media is telling them. A lot of, at least I don't know how many of these 75, 76 million people that voted for President Trump, they don't have confidence in the election. And that's really what this is about. And you talk to people intimately involved, Stacy, with these audits. Their hope is that they can make sure that these election laws are upheld and that moving forward, everyone has faith and confidence in our elections process.
See, the issue here is for a lot of Americans is if you know anybody who lives in California, and I have some really good friends there, Corinne, there's just a number of people, Jessica Patterson Lee, they work in GOP politics in California, and they have talked about how the GOP kind of sat back. And it was kind of a takeover, but it wasn't so obvious. They introduced ranked choice voting. They introduced ballot boxes, ballot harvesting. And it was like a little bit here, a little bit there. And before they knew it, the rules had changed. And then before they knew it, Republicans can't get elected there. She even told me a story of someone who was elected to Congress, was in Congress on the day she was going to be sworn in, and got a phone call that they'd found more ballots and she'd actually lost her election and she had to go back home and a Democrat went in her place. So these are the kind of stories that don't make it to the news. We don't know about them because the mainstream media is complicit with Democrats, and they do want to see elections like California, their kind of politics spread across the country so they don't have to worry about losing again. And that's because their policies are failed. And I'll tell you this. Ask any Democrat, what policies have you ever passed in the history of the Democrat Party that have ever helped Black people? And why are all of the inner cities in America for 100 years and 110 years, I think it is, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 78 years here in St. Louis, run exclusively by Democrats? And why are they still the same? Why has there never been a change? Why have there never been any lives that have been improved? Why doesn't Black Lives Matter rebuild neighborhoods? Why is Scott Presler a gay white man?
These are the questions, again, Stacey, you don't hear asked. We see Kamala Harris, she's doing some sort of press event right now on the screen. She's not asked the same type of questions, and when she does, she gets a little prickly with reporters. All right, guys, we're going to cut it off right there. We're going to have everyone back in the next hour. It is Friday, 1:30. You know what that means? It's meme team time. We got some great memes from our meme team, and we will feature those coming up at 1:30. You see the Vice President speaking right now. We're keeping an eye on that. We'll give you updated if anything warrants an update. Also coming up, a third gender option will now be available on New York driver's licenses. We'll have the details on that story and more. Your catch-up is next.